Kevon Costner steps up to the plate in his second baseball film in 2 years. We're waiting on the bench for Field of Dreams. Stay with us. Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast. Home base, home plate for the best in music and movie podcasting. We're not in the bleachers, Eric. We're on the field with this podcast.
We're still at home.
Still at home.
We're watching the game from home.
We're
on our couch.
We're on the field.
Yeah.
We're on the field, swinging the bat, getting it done each and every week to bring everybody listening the best in music and movie podcasting. And we're wearing the home team colors today for Field of Dreams. So we've got our guest. We've got our one lone guest today.
Yes.
Who is now crapping his pants because he's got to carry this episode now.
Oh, the pressure's on.
No
Jerry.
Pressure.
I need another PBR.
This is like ninth inning, bases loaded, 2 outs, and we're bringing him in. Mr. Gerry Sullivan. How are you, Jerry?
And I have just beamed the batter and walked the winning run home.
He's dropping the glove on the mound and going to the showers. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. It's good to have you on. It's been a while. It's been a minute.
Yes,
but it's going to be a fun film to talk about. Eric, how's it going?
It's going.
It's going.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Just
right.
capital.
Yes.
Just capital. So we are. We're going to be talking about this. Is Field of Dreams, guys only film. Jerry.
Yes.
Yeah, really? You don't think of women can kind of relate to the themes?
I guess some women can. I just don't see it as a. I don't see a lot of women relating.
Really interesting. A lot of
less women love baseball. I mean, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there's some, but it's not a chick flick. If you want to use that.
What would be the opposite of that then? Don't rhyme.
I don't know. Guy cinema. I don't know.
We'll get into that. I think we'll get into that. I think it's worth, and maybe once we get into some of the deeper themes of the film, maybe we'll kind of come out the other side differently. For now, let's do the stats for Field of Dreams. This was released in May of 1989. So that's 34 years old. Written and directed by Phil Alden Robinson, based on the novel by W.P. Kinsella, which was originally called Shoeless Joe, was the novel. Budget, a paltry $15 million. But considering the people that were in it and where they were at their careers, that's actually probably pretty expensive for this kind of film, especially not being an effects or action film. It returned on its investment $84.4 million box office. Boom, shakalaka. That's for this kind of quirky, hard to categorize film. That's a really big thing. Eric, nominated for 3 Oscars. Did you know that it was nominated for Best Picture?
I did.
Wow. Yeah. That kind of passed me by. I'm like, this was really a Best Picture. Not that it doesn't deserve it, but you think of this for other reasons, not as a Best Picture nominee.
Yeah. I mean, who else was up that year for 89 or 90, I guess would be the.
Well, it would be the
ceremony would have been in 1990, but for 89, who was?
Yeah, so it would have been 89. Who was 89?
Yeah.
That would be the 61st Academy Awards. Best Picture. No, that's not right. So then it would have been the 62nd Academy Awards. For films of 1989. So the Best Picture nominees were, and this will make a lot more sense to you now. My Left Foot, nominated for Best Picture. Dead Poets Society.
Classic.
The next film that my chips were all in on the table for, and Eric will verify this, Born on the 4th of July.
Never saw it.
Was nominated. And the winner was Driving Miss Daisy.
Never saw it.
I didn't. I don't think I've seen. I think I maybe saw it a long time ago. Driving Miss Daisy. I don't remember. But yeah, that you know what, Field of Dreams looks like a lightweight compared to the caliber of Oliver Stone with another Vietnam epic, Born on the 4th of July. I mean, those were like that was the kind of stuff that was winning winning Academy Awards back then. So, Driving Miss Daisy and the highbrow stuff. Daniel Day-Lewis won for Best Actor that year. So it was nominated for 3 actors. One was Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay from other material, which this was, and Best Original Score. Right? So that was James Horner that did the score. He's a very reliable. Best. Yeah, very reliable composer. Good. He does good stuff. So I did not see this in the theater. Jerry?
No. I saw it many years later on video.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I probably saw it in the 90s. So, I saw it back then, but certainly not when it came out. Eric, you were on top of this from the beginning?
No, I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it. I think I probably rented it at the time or something. Yeah, I remember seeing it at home on video. I never owned it. But I remember watching it. Might have watched it with my family or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But
it's a great film to do that with. Yeah. It's one of the rare ones that we actually do on this show that's not rated R. It doesn't have blood and guts or excessive cursing or
cursing or nudity.
This is an outlier for us.
Yeah.
So this was based on a book called Shoeless Joe, written by W.P. Kinsella, and this movie, if you've never seen it, okay, it's a fantasy. It's a fantasy. That's the only way to describe it. It's dramatic. It's comedic. It's fun. But at its heart, it's a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go through the cast. I think that's probably the next important thing to do, because a lot of these people were not at the apex of their career yet, right? Kevin Costner as Ray Kinsella, Amy Madigan as Annie Kinsella, his wife, Gabby Hoffman as Karen Kinsella, who's the little daughter, James Earl Jones as Terrence Mann. He's the only one we'll say that was, he was certainly not new to the scene. Ray Liotta as Shoeless Joe Jackson, Timothy Busfield as Mark, Burt Lancaster as Moonlight Graham. He's definitely on the twilight of his career. We'll say Dwyer Brown as John Kinsella, although he's not a known actor. He's not really known for anything. Didn't really do much after this. Very little of note. But there's your cast. But at the time, Costner was not the big name yet. He had done The Untouchables in '87. Was on a streak of doing a lot of good films, right? He did Bull Durham and what's the one with Gene Hackman when he was the Navy guy?
No Way Out.
No Way Out. So he had some stuff bubbling under. 1989, Ray Liotta was not Ray Liotta yet. The only thing of note he had done was Something Wild. Goodfellas would come out the next year.
And then
totally changed the trajectory of how he was viewed in Hollywood. He then became viewed as the gangster type guy. Although he did try, Ray Liotta did make great strides and efforts to not be pigeonholed as such. Of course, James Earl Jones is James Earl Jones. He was well into his career and well respected, and was not new. Burt Lancaster certainly not new to it. Initially, James Stewart was offered the Burt Lancaster role.
That would have been
of
weird.
Moonlight Graham, and he declined it. Actually, Lancaster was offered at first. He turned it down. They went to James Stewart. He said, no, forgot about it.
It's funny that
we got that out of the way quick.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. We certainly did.
Wait for my Lancaster.
Yes.
and then
I guess it's no coincidence then they show a clip from Harvey. Yeah.
Little nod to James Stewart.
Yeah.
And then I guess a friend of Lancaster's went back to him and said, you got to do this movie. Like, you got to do it.
Yeah.
So Lancaster kind of reconsidered. The Costner role first offered to Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah,
definitely.
That could work.
I don't know. He's got a little bit of the too wholesome edge. Costner brings a little.
At this point, Costner was still pretty much labeled as the aw shucks.
Yeah.
Kind of guy.
Kind of Henry Fonda-ish.
He didn't earn. He didn't start doing the rough and tough stuff until well into the 90s, and this was people were still kind of poking fun at him and being.
But I still think there's something different than Tom that seeing Tom Hanks in the role. Because in '89, Tom Hanks was still the comedy guy, right? So he was.
Plus, I think Hanks would have made it a little bit more cerebral. He would have made it. He would have done his big monologue, just as he does in every film. He would have made it. He would have he kind of would have went there, especially since they really play up on the fact that they went to college and they were into the '60s and that whole bit. And so I think Hanks really would have put long on the tooth with that. I think, but Costner, he played it. He played it well. He did.
He played Costner at this point. You're right. Has that all American look. He's kind of more of the, at this point he was more of the everyman than Tom Hanks, because Tom Hanks was a comedic actor, so he had that kind of baggage with him that everyone saw him as, oh, you're in Big and you're in this and that. Kevin Costner was coming from the he was off the Untouchables on this, so so he had a lot of goodwill from the movie going public to kind of be this guy as well. I think so.
I only saw this I guess seeing it later. I guess I see Costner as different because I saw it much. I guess I knew him. I knew all these people.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see it when it first came out.
Yeah.
So I could kind of see Hanks. It would have been different. It would have been much different energy coming from Hanks. Yeah. But I could kind of see him sliding in there. Though Costner's really good in it.
But Costner, I think he's from the Midwest too. I think he plays that.
I think he was. I think he was born in California, but he's got that feel. He's got that feel. He's got that guy.
Right. Yeah.
He's got that everyman gravitas where he feels like he could be a guy that was was a hippie in the '60s and is trying to be a farmer, and
he's accepted by other farmers. As he's sitting there, they were all
not really. They kind of give him the sideways look, right? It's like, well, Ray's here.
He doesn't really know what he's doing.
No, but when he's in the store, they weren't they were nicer to him than I would have thought farmers would be
until he started, mentioning the voices.
Mowed down the farm, and that stuff kind of threw him off.
People are lining up on the side of the road to watch him plow through the corn, and what the hell is he doing? He's gonna lose.
That little store scene always stood out to me because they look like they accept him more than I would have thought an outsider would have been accepted into farmland.
Yeah, he raised a good crop, but going back to the Tom Hanks thing is I believe they wanted to offer it to Costner first, but they didn't think that he would want to do another baseball movie because the year before he had just done Bull Durham, so they're like, should we even bother? Because why would somebody want to do that? So they kind of passed over him, and then I believe he got his hands on the screenplay and read it. He goes, "This could be another It's a Wonderful Life."
Absolutely. Yeah. It's what it feels like. Movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Which it absolutely has those earmarks. And I'm going to bring up another film too, as we get, I think another film that was the inspiration for it.
So baseball is kind of a conduit in this film for everything they're trying to say it's a baseball film, but it's not like a sports film. I don't see it in that energy.
I agree. It's a means to an end. I think it kind of.
Yeah, you don't have to know. You don't have to know.
You don't have to know about baseball, right? Which brings up the point when Dean asked, "Could this be appealing to women?" I think so because, it's that kind of movie. It's very sentimental. It's kind of it wears its heart on its sleeve. It's about family. It's about lost chances, in life. And I think that, baseball just happens to be the common denominator of the whole.
Yeah. Like you don't have to know the rules of baseball to
exactly. Yeah.
You can say, oh, I've watched baseball on TV with my boyfriend or my girlfriend or whatever, and watch this film and not be like, oh, I'm totally lost. I don't know what's going on. Cause baseball, you're right, Gerry, baseball is kind of the in for the story, but it does play a big part of it because it's the notion of what baseball means to people or to these people keeps coming up throughout the film as well, and baseball as a metaphor for those relationships that fathers and sons have, and the things they quote unquote would bond over would be baseball, and again the having a catch, all those things that even if you're not a baseball fan as an adult, when you were small, you were exposed to that, and it was America's pastime, and baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and Chevrolet.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a universal theme. It's a very American universal theme, because baseball is kind of that. Yeah. That's the thing. So I think that. Yeah, I think it guys. Yeah, like everyone's gonna be like, I'm not crying, you're crying.
Yep.
Because I was crying when I watched it again, and I was actually crying at a different spot. So I'm like, oh crap. Now I have to be aware of like another point where I might cry.
Well, because you're coming at it like, okay, if you're gonna have chicks, girls, whatever you want to call it, it would be very different, because the guys probably, and this is is looking at it from the idea of most guys having catch with their father or playing baseball, where a lady would see the sentiment. I mean, even though guys are getting the sentimentality, it's being brought into them, because at least for me, playing catch, even now, playing catch with my 20-year-old son is a lot to me, probably more to me than it is to him, because it's just a time you don't really. It's an odd thing. You just start throwing a ball around, and then you just start talking. Weird things happen. Whereas, a woman would see it from the different angle of the sentimentality. So
I think they're seeing it from the emotional. Yeah, I think that the emotional and the relationship aspect of the father and son, like that can be applied to a mother-daughter type thing. The missed opportunities and the things that were unsaid, and so I think from that aspect, it's the themes are universal. Those themes are universal. Are we all just I wrote down, are we all just trying to win the approval of our parents? Which is kind of what this kind of is about, or living up to our parents' expectations, right? Because that's what Ray, or Kevon Costner, struggled with in this film as a youngster, was rebelling against his father's expectations, or what does it mean to kind of want to have your own way of doing things or feeling, and the 60s happened, and he was rebellious, and
I kind of look at it a different way. For me, it kind of, watching it again, it kind of annoyed me, actually, in the sense that he, the thing that really became a thing about, the split in their relationship was the fact that his father couldn't follow his dreams. He couldn't do the things he really wanted to do, because he had no choice but to work hard and raise a son, because he lost his wife. And it kind of pissed me off that Kevon Costner was angry with his father about that. Like, you got old and you never, there's a little bit of, I don't know. And that's something that, I think that's what the movie's about, is his, like, when James Earl Jones says, he's like, that's your penance for feeling this way, for having those feelings.
Yep.
And, and it's really all about bringing your father back, and getting, not so much letting him get to play out his dreams, but also reconnecting with him, which is the key thing. And Costner realizes this throughout the film, and he keeps talking about it. He's like, the son of a bitch died before I could take it all back. And, now I'm my father, because I did the exact same thing. I'm a farmer in Iowa. I don't know jack shit about farming.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. It's like, but here I am doing the, working man, doing the thing, raising a family.
Hasn't felt that he's done anything, right? He said,
that's right.
I'm afraid I'm turning into my father, because I haven't done, I'm 36, which is like nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
But, but it
wish I was 36 again.
Yeah, right.
First world problems right there. But he feels like he hasn't accomplished anything, right? He hasn't done anything spontaneous.
Right.
Which then kind of runs parallel to the issues he had with his father, or the relationship, and then he starts to draw those connect those dots of, wow, am I turning into my father? Is this what it's like? And then he probably starts to have a little better understanding of that, because then he does get very reflective in the scenes with James Earl Jones. So
that's right.
to kind of, for people that don't know what we're talking about, basically, Kevin Costner's character is a farmer in the Midwest, a hippie from the 60s who starts hearing voices. He hears 3 specific things. The first one, which is probably the most quoted thing ever, might be one of the most quoted lines, is, "If you build it, he will come." Mm-hmm. And he just hears a disembodied voice, which, from what I heard, or might be urban legend, could be Ed Harris providing that whispery voice, because he was
really
enigmatic. So yeah, the legend is that it could be Ed Harris.
Now it always will be in my head.
I always just assumed it was Ray Liotta, to be honest with you. I just it kind of sounds like him a little bit. I guess not. Wow.
I think it's more mystic. Yeah, I think it's more mystical.
I think it's nice that there's that
ethereal thing.
That's right. Yeah.
The second voice he hears says, "Ease his pain." And then the third one is, "Go the distance." So these are all clues. These are all breadcrumbs that we get dropped. We don't know what they mean, or we're told what the characters believe they mean. So by that stance, right, we believe it, right? We believe that this is about Shoeless Joe. The father is a subplot, and he's mentioned throughout the thing, but the main thing is, if you build this, Shoeless Joe will come. What does ease his pain mean? And we think it means about James Earl Jones' character, Terrence Mann. And then go the distance. We think that means, well, when they're at the ball game and they get the information about Moonlight Graham, that they have to go to Minnesota. So they're unraveling the clues for us. So we kind of really, I think this movie makes us lazy in not trying to figure it out, right? Because by the end, you're like, holy shit, like okay.
But that's the beauty of it, though.
You got me. Exactly.
It's one of those movies where, I wish they still made films like this.
Yeah.
Where you just take it for what it is and you just enjoy it.
Where would Iron Man come into, though?
What's that?
Where would Iron Man come into, though?
But Gerry, even like comic book movies today are struggling that everything needs to be explained, everything needs to be logical, everything needs to be real. Like that. There's constant need to make people believe in this stuff. And where a film like this, you don't even have to think about it.
You go with it,
You accept it.
That's the ease of it.
Yeah, it's just like I said, it's like a Capra movie in that sense.
Yeah.
And, nobody questioned that, when you watch it every Christmas and you just, an angel comes down and, nobody says anything about that. But here, I don't know if a movie like this today could work, like people would be like dissecting this thing, all over the place.
They'd be, the whole idea of them having to go from Boston to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And driving and being basically out of the loop for all that. I mean, that's a long ass drive.
Yeah, it is.
Now you couldn't imagine that, because you would be calling constantly. You'd be texting. They could be it's a different world. That was a road trip. There really aren't road trips now, because you're always still it was just 2 guys driving across the country.
With maps.
With maps.
Maps, right, exactly. Wearing the same clothes that they started out with. There's no baggage. He just gets in the car and he goes.
He just got in a car and went.
And you just go, man. You just go with
maps. Paper maps.
Just fucking go with it. I love that. I miss that.
You're right. Well, I mean, you could make that film now. You would just have to place it at a different time, right? You have the ability to do that. Is to, the fact that it came out in '89 and was of its time. We're looking back on it and saying, wow, this is great, because you didn't have those, what are now known as modern conveniences, getting in the way of the film, which keeps it pure. It's like, these guys were on the road and you had to dial the phone from the hotel if you wanted to call somebody, and you read the newspaper to find out you were missing.
Microfiche.
Yeah,
he went to a library looking up
microfiche. That's right. Yep.
And I remember having to learn that.
Blowing the dust off the freaking books that are like in the library. Here it is. Like the librarian. And then it's like, and then to go even further and and when Costner's literally stepping back in time, blows your mind too, because he's walking the streets and he meets Burt Lancaster for the first, and Godfather on the marquee.
Yeah. At that point, it entered total fantasy, right? Because it's
You're talking
time travel. You're talking, these really it went in on the fantastical elements, and that's those scenes with Burt Lancaster are great. You know,
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they are.
you know, are you the kind of man who could grant such a wish?
Yeah. And
there enough-
there's the
is there enough-
Lancaster.
Is there enough
I
magic?
gotta-
Is there enough magic in the moonlight?
I'm gonna get it home before Alicia thinks I have a girlfriend.
Yes.
And he does that wink. He's so great.
Yeah,
Like,
that creepy smile though, man, it gets you. It's like, you know.
It
And when they
wasn't
did,
creepy in
when they
89.
parodied that on SNL, they even made. Now when I watch the movie, I think of that skit. They did a skit, and it's like, and they really creep you out because whoever played Lancaster in the skit was just really played up on that, like the smirk and the like really like made it creepy. So every time I watch the movie now, I'm thinking of that skit. I think it was Dana Carvey or one of the.
There goes the innocence of Field of Dreams.
yeah, exactly. Poor Burt Lancaster. You know, hot dogs stuck in her throat.
Stuck in her throat.
Yes.
The funny thing
hot
about there actually was a Moonlight Graham. So he was based on a real person.
Yeah.
And who became a doctor. And those scenes when they're in Minnesota and those people are like where James Earl Jones is like interviewing people, the townspeople, those were actually based on real things that were written about the real Moonlight Graham. Those were actually taken from real things that were written about him, which is, I mean, that's one of my favorite scenes anyway, is when the blue hat scene. That guy's got like 5 lines and he just, you know, when he talks about the blue hat, and he's like, I bet you didn't know. Yep. He goes, I bet you didn't know that, and he starts to kind of get like welled up, and it's like Jesus Christ, you know, like
I know,
you know, and it's just kind of,
and the look on James Earl Jones's face when you consider what, like, you know, before when he's like, I'm going to beat you with a crowbar till you go away, like, you know, like he's just like trying to get the hell out of here, and now. The wonder in his face and his those blue eyes, like his eyes are wide, the glasses are off, and he's writing this stuff down, and
the compassion, and he's listening, he's listening, and you know, he's like, oh, I didn't know that, you know, it's just great, you know, that's what makes the innocence of this film is what helps it along as well. It's it's not snarky, it's not wink with the things. It's kind of it's true to itself. It's like exactly, this is a fantasy, and you know, the worst villain is Timothy Busfeld. It really isn't the worst, you know.
He's like trying to help.
Yeah,
first to help. Like, right, exactly.
You could live here free,
right?
Just give us the land.
It's exactly. Yeah.
It's just, you know.
Though I have to say, this is and I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for this. I love this movie so much. I cannot stand the wife.
Oh my God! Are you kidding?
Amy Madigan? Oh yeah, she
was incredible in this film. I love Amy Madigan in this.
Drives me nuts in this movie.
Really,
her energy. I would have. I watch it despite her.
Really, she's got. I thought she was.
I love
fantastic.
her in this, but I understand. I kind of get where Jerry's saying about it.
She's got like the hippie vibe.
She's like a yappy little dog that I'm like. Oh my God! Like I don't blame Costner for driving from Iowa to Boston to Minnesota just to get some time away from her.
Wow!
Her character, I think, is great. The character behind it, like what she represents, but just and from the first, I can always remember watching this. And being like, what the hell does he see in it? Like,
really? I thought they played off each other so great.
Yeah, she still had a little bit of the brat pack in her, you know, the character.
It just drove me nuts.
She sold it for me though, because you know she's getting a little bit older. They're settling down, and you know, talking about like the lack of women in this film too. I find it interesting that every time Ray, you know, like she's never there, like next to him, like getting involved and talking to these guys. She's always sitting on the porch with the daughter, like hanging back, and like, you go talk to these people, you deal with the ghosts, and you know, I find that kind of strange that it's that, you know, that she represents women in this movie, and she's like taking a step back from that and letting the movie be what it is and letting it be for men.
His
journey.
In
that sense.
I think she I think she understands that as his wife and as the character.
Yeah,
because she's kind of like you don't need to prove that you're not you're not your father, and she kind of and she's quirky enough that she believes, like, she goes along with it, which is what I love about her character, is that she's all in on the ghost thing.
She's all in. She's absolutely all in. Even when the farm was like, even when she was talking to him on the phone, and you really feel for her because the pressure's on and he's not there, and God knows where the hell he is.
You also get her, like, you get the strength of her character just by how she stood up in the and well, a little aside, do PTA meetings really get that many people?
Yeah, right. That's what I thought. I was like, this is like, it's like a town hall meeting. Like
they were talking about banning books in 1989, and we're still talking about it in 2024. But that's a different thing. But you could see that she's strong. Like, they are a definite team because they work together. They feed off each other. But I still can't. I could not stand her.
She's got that kind of voice too. She's very.
It was just too like, oh my God! But I did like what she represented. I like how she was quick to stand up in the PTA meeting, and like you said, she like you guys said, she let him. She knew that this wasn't just him being crazy. Like, she trusted him, and he trusted her to kind of work together in all this.
Well, even to the point where the family comes for dinner, right? And that's when he starts talking about, like, and then the mother's like, I don't think it's very polite to make people feel stupid. and she's not like, Mom, like she's like running after her mom. She's laughing. Right? Like she's like, she thinks it's hilarious that her mom just said that and walked away, and they can't see these people.
That they can't see it.
It's so
It's so Busfield's wife. It's not funny.
Yeah.
The rest of the women in the movie are kind of very pure and stuck up and very very
like
proper.
The Nazi Hitler lady in the PTA.
She was really good. You know what? I was watching that today, and I'm like, I was really enjoying her performance. Like,
she always plays that role though.
Yes,
you see her in TV and. That actress, I forget her name, but she's
always the uppity, like,
right. Yep.
The holier than thou. But then she like goes right downhill, like she's ready to go outside and throw down.
Yeah.
Her name is Lee Garlington.
Okay. Yep.
She looks like a Lee Garlington.
Lee Garlington.
But when Amy Madigan, when his father finally steps out and she says to him, "It's so wonderful to meet you." I tear up at that because it's like, and again, she walks away. Like, it's not like, I got to be involved in this.
Catching up. You guys have some talking to do, or catching up.
So that's
kind of it's handled deftly, right? That she is a support. She is a pillar for him, because this is something that would, without her support. He might think I'm going crazy, but she kind of like, no, let's, let's
she's
do
not
it.
She's support. They're a team. And you can get that.
And that's important for him in his journey, that he was, because she was going to right? She goes, we got to nip this in the bud. And then she had the same dream. And then she kind of bought back into it of, you got to go out and find Terrence Mann. You got to find James Earl Jones.
Weird. Why would she take so long to bring up that dream? Like, with all they were going through, when she had that dream about Fenway Park, I would have thought she'd be like, "Yo, this is weird. We have a baseball field in our backyard, and I just had this random dream about Fenway Park." I just thought it was weird that she took so long to bring that up.
Well,
when did the dream happen, though? Didn't it happen after the fact, though? After he built the field, and then she started.
They both had it at the same time.
Yeah, they had the same. Yeah, they dream at the same time.
It just seemed like a very significant dream that he's having voices. He's hearing voices. He builds his thing and all this stuff. And she has a baseball dream.
Yeah, but she might have dismissed it as, we have a baseball field, so now I'm dreaming about baseball, for crying out loud,
I guess. Well, this is why I don't like it.
And they were talking about Terrence Mann, so you know how that goes, where something random, you'll hear something random during the day, and then all of a sudden you have it's in your dream, So all those elements, Terrence Mann, the James Earl Jones character, and baseball, and all that stuff kind of swirling around in your head. keep in mind, I think one thing that was kind of lost on me when I watched it again is there's a lot of time that goes by between the time he actually builds the field.
Yes.
And by the time Shoeless Joe actually shows up,
I forgot that there's like a Christmas.
It's like a whole Christmas scene.
I totally forgot all that.
Yeah,
so it's like harvest, like right before, like he was going through his crop. He was ready to pull that stuff up and to sell it. So that's like what, the fall? Like you're talking like late August, maybe going into September. So that entire season.
So the time it took them to build it, and then the time they were waiting with just nothing happening, right? It's just kind of that, like you said, that Christmas scene. He's kind of looking out the window at the field that's just not
like, what the hell did I do?
Yeah, not doing
anything. Something.
Then finally, finally, the great Ray Liotta.
Oh my God!
Shows up on the field as Shoeless Joe Jackson.
He's amazing in this.
He's so not a lot of lines, but he didn't need it. Again,
just the look.
It's the look.
Those looks.
Have you ever held a ball? Have you ever held the glove to your face? Like just again, how they really make you want to like baseball. Like if you're not a baseball fan, you can watch this film and be like, I feel like I really want to like because they really know how to present. Even with Burt Lancaster, stretch a double into a triple. Slide into that bag, and wrap your arms around that bag. I mean, they
stare into that blue sky that blinds you, like it's so blue that you can't see.
Yeah, it's that love. It's that you feel it in the words. The love for baseball. That's what kind of is kind of brings you into the movie. Like I said, you don't have to be a baseball fan, but when you hear people talk about it that way
and James Earl Jones caps it off at the end with his
they're
sitting in the stands and the shirt sleeves and
people will come, Ray.
People will come, Ray. And it keeps going and it keeps going, and it's like, oh, this is such a great, such a great speech.
But they're talking about a time of baseball, like we all go through it. But then as we get older, and if you're still into it or whatever, it all changes because you're looking at contract. Like everything is so different when you're an adult and you stop playing.
Yeah.
They're talking about those times where you're either playing it or you're still to the point where if someone's playing it, you're sitting on a bleacher right next to the field. Not
the innocence of baseball.
It is. And
that's Frank Whaley's character, right? He plays the younger Graham, and him saying, hey, they get a job for you. They put you, you're working during the day and you can play at night and all this stuff. And then Costner points, they don't do that anymore. Like, that's so interesting that he said that. He doesn't realize that this kid is from back in time. Like, it's like, they don't do that anymore. It's like, hello.
It wasn't until he's
a kid from the 2020s, for God's sake, like,
then they're like, what's your name? I'm Archie Graham. And he's like, oh shit. Okay. Now it all makes sense.
This shit just got real.
Not only did I time travel, but this kid came forward.
It definitely worked because it worked. I mean, I'm not a huge sports nut. I like baseball, but I like baseball films. This is one of those movies but I think it's more about the history of it. That's what gets you. It's like then they talk about when the times were different and
the reverence
that the nation had for this sport. And even movies like, League of Their Own, I think is wonderful. It's like, because I never even knew that was a thing.
Yeah.
That women had their own, that when the guys went off to war, that they had a, women's baseball league.
They had they had a league of their own. Of their very own. Okay, let me bring this up.
Show is different than a 7:00 show, people.
All right, I teased this at the beginning, but there is a movie that is referenced twice in Field of Dreams, and it got me thinking that this movie could have influenced it. Anybody want to take a guess what movie I think may have influenced Field of Dreams? And then the more you think about it, it's kind of like, oh, okay.
It's not the one that with Jimmy Stewart, is it?
No,
it's not Harvey.
It's referenced once. It's referenced
Give us a
one
hint when it's referenced.
It's referenced one time, and then it's said one time. Wizard of Oz.
Like
Wizard
the
of Oz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wizard of Oz. So Wizard of Oz is referenced during the book burning thing, and then when one of the ball players is going to the corner, he's like, "I'm melting."
Yes, there
I
you
can
go.
see that.
Think about the theme of Wizard of Oz, that there's no place like home.
True.
And what does Ray Kinsella learn at the end? That he said this could be heaven. He looks back at his house and his wife and his daughter, and he says, maybe he was looking for something that was already there, right? And he goes on a road trip, and he picks up, just like Dorothy on the Yellow Brick Road. He goes on a trip, and he picks up James Earl Jones. Then he goes to another place and picks up Archie, and comes back home, and he's looking. I'm not saying it's an exact match, but it's
no, I know
pretty coincidental.
No, you're right. Yeah. It's a really good point, and it's valid. It's
those themes are there. Those themes are there.
Yeah, because that's what it's all about. It's like, things don't always turn out the way you want them to in life, but he still has it pretty good. You got a beautiful wife, you got a daughter. The fact that his wife is from Iowa and that she wanted to go back and live there, and he accepted that. He went back. This isn't exactly the kind of life that I don't think he wanted necessarily. But he became a farmer, there's that partnership that I don't think that they realized was so strong. And so, until they start living it, and it's just, and that's the crux of the movie right there. It's just, life is, so what? You have your dreams, sure. But there's some good in life as well.
Sometimes
sometimes things are staring you right in the face, and you don't appreciate it. You don't accept it.
Yeah. Moonlight Graham says it. I wrote this down. We don't just recognize life's most significant moments while they're happening. Back then I thought, well, there'll be other days. I didn't realize that this was, even though he's talking about the last day he played, but that's what it like. That whatever the quote, like, we don't see the good time. Like, it is all often right there. It is often like when he looks back and he sees his wife and daughter. That's what it's all.
He's able to be in the moment. Yeah. He's able to finally be in the moment.
I still like to play catch with my son's 20, and I know it probably drives him nuts when I want to play catch. But we go out and we just have fun, just tossing the ball around. Like, there's no score, there's nothing to it, and we often wind up hashing things, going over stuff that you never expected, because we're just kind of stopping. He's not working, I'm not working, we're just in a field throwing things around, throwing a ball back and forth. And that's what this movie kind of gets to. That's what I kind of see from this movie. The whole, is this heaven?
Yeah. And everything that transpires is for Ray.
Yeah.
All the character, everything is, they're pointing to him, saying, "This is all about you. This is about you and your father." You could argue that it's Wonderful Life. Maybe a little bit of A Christmas Carol is thrown in there.
Yeah.
Host trying to tell him, like, get your shit together, because he's because he's lost. He's kind of like wondering what, why am I still angry at my father? Why am why am I harboring these? Exactly. So everything, all the characters, they come into play to serve, to point out these things to him. And then even when, like, Burt Lancaster, like, I love it when all the ball players are like, "Hey, doc," they all know that he's a doctor, that he fulfilled another lifelong, and he was he was a successful doctor because he didn't become a baseball player. He wouldn't have saved all those people. He wouldn't have done all those things for the kids that they talk about. And, so those things are brought out as well. And it's like, so who's to say that you didn't have a good life? It's
exactly.
Like, appreciate what you have. That's what it's all
about. And there's another great Ray Liotta line there too, right? Rookie.
You were good.
You were good. You were good.
Yeah.
And then, Burt Lancaster does kind of like the, or he goes, kind of like that, and it's just, and then, and getting back to what you were saying about how this was all pointing towards Kevin Costner, Ray Kinsella.
Right.
Basically at the very end, when Shoeless Joe is leaving finally, Kevin Costner says, it was you, meaning talking about his father. And Jules Joe says, "No, Ray, it was you.
Yeah.
This was about you. This wasn't about like bringing your father back. This was about you kind of coming to terms with it, and reconciling it, and understanding finally.
That's right. Yep.
You know, it was about you understanding that heaven is right in front of you, and that in these small things. And yeah, like I said, those themes are in It's a Wonderful Life. The themes are in The Wizard of Oz, and a lot of other films of this kind of this sort. And this one stands with them. This one stands with those films, I think, in that
absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
put it in that fantasy genre or of that kind of, you know, not knowing what you've got until it's gone, or
they're playing with a lot here. They're just it's an homage to those older films. It's you know, like I said, I mean, you know, this is the end of the 80s, so you know, 90s would come along. You didn't see too many more films like this, like these wholesome type of movies. Everything was starting to become Tarantino was yet to come on the scene, and you know, all this other stuff. So yeah, these movies were almost it's kind of, hate to say it, but like a thing of the past. Like, you know, they're just, you know, the movie itself is
what's in the box? Your father's head.
That's a little different.
Your father's head is in the box.
With a baseball glove.
Yeah, it's like, you know, the 90s were much more cynical and much more. It got back to like the 70s grit, and the 80s were like that happy, everything is beautiful type of kind of films that came out. In this one,
if they made this now, people would just be harping on how the White Sox cheated. They were all they deserved to lose all this stuff. Like the whole idea that of what was going on would be lost, and the idea that this is just a nice film. This is just something.
And Costner, I mean, he kind of throws it out there when he said, I don't understand how you.
I can't respect a man
whose hero was a criminal, and it's like, whoa, you know, like that's like probably the most subversive thing in the movie, like you know, like the harshest thing that you know that could happen. But yeah, and then I also think about that 8 Men Out. That was a great film too, with Dee Sweeney and
John Cusack.
Yeah, that I think about that often every time I watch this. So
Don Harvey.
But yeah, you know, it's just so nice to revisit something like this, and just
and the you know the ballpark survives. The ballpark endures. They
Don't they have a major league game? Didn't they have a major league game there?
The ballpark was sold in 2011 to a company called Go the Distance LLC.
Yeah,
we obviously know what they want to do, but
how weird.
They've had major league.
Odds?
Oh yeah. It's so coincidental that the name of the company is from the movie. They've had Major League Baseball games there the past 2 years, I think, which is really not, you know, kind of to honor that and kind of go back to the roots of it, which is pretty interesting. The movie was actually filmed on 2 separate farms. One guy's farm had the field on it, and he left it, and then there was another farm that they used to film stuff too. So. Very, very interesting thing that they kind of left the ball field there, you know, and it became what it was in the movies. Like people will come, Ray, you know, and people, and I think they said they get about 65,000 visitors per year, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was cumulative.
I'm not
sure.
You're allowed to go. It's open, and you can just go play baseball there. Like there's no like.
That'd be neat.
You know,
great, you know,
they just let you go play baseball, you know, on a field in the middle of Iowa.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Very neat.
I think it was the anniversary of the film. I don't know how old it was. I saw it on YouTube. Costner was there.
Yeah.
He came in and threw the first pitch.
I think he came out from the corn or something. He was
came out from the corn, and they played the music, you know, like, you know, like people were clapping. And it was like, you know.
They did that with the major league players too.
Yeah,
they came out of the corn.
Oh, they did.
Yeah,
I was kind of torn on like, well, this is the only word that came to mind was, is this corny or is this? I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. It was entertaining enough to see them, you know.
And it's good that the film has endured as
and it's
as this piece
as
like you said, like both of you said, as something that probably couldn't be made today. So it's you know, it is something of the past, but it's still a modern film. It's still contemporary enough. It's just, today would be a little more cynical take on it, and be a wisecracking sidekick or something like that. And this one, I think Eric said it wears its heart on its sleeve. It's sentimental. It's nostalgic.
Yeah.
It's feel good. It hits you in the right beats at the right time, and it slow rolls you. Like I said in the beginning, like we're going with this is about Shoeless Joe, and then at the end they're like, "Fuck it, God damn it!" It's it was about the father the whole time. Wait, no, it was actually about Ray the whole time. And it's just an amazing. It's a great trip to go on because of that. Because there's a mystery there. That it's supernatural. It's fantasy. It's mysterious. It's got fantastic performances. Like I said, top to bottom. Even the ball players, even the Chicago White Sox are.
They were great.
And it's just
at most you got muscles.
That guy, that actor Art LaFleur, he's in it. He played Babe Ruth in The Sandlot.
Yes,
that I love that actor,
and he fits that role. He's good.
Yeah. He's like, don't wink, kid.
It's such a great film. And of course, if you're not into that kind of thing, if you're not into over, like this, people kind of cringe, but come on, if you watch it, you gotta
open yourself up.
You gotta open yourself up to it. You gotta, and you will be crying. I don't care who you are. There's, if you don't have a tear in your eye, then you got no soul.
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say.
That should have been on the box. That should have been on the DVD box. If you ain't crying, you have no soul.
I mean, and it comes down to one word when Costner's like, "Dad."
Yeah. Son of a bitch.
Right? And he turns around and he knows. Like,
let me ask you guys that, because with that scene at the very end, when he realizes that it's his father, right? He goes, "Oh my God, that's my dad. I only knew him years later. He was broken down by life." And he comes over and introduces to the family, and he's like, "Oh, Karen, this is John."
Yeah.
So do you think that Ray, that the father knew at that point, or like did he, or was this kind of a he knew and wasn't going to say anything if and just kind of see what it was, or that's the only question I really have is
I think I thought about that actually the first time I saw it. Because I remember talking about that with someone. I remember saying that I think he knew that he was his father. He just didn't
say anything because he was still tentative about the relationship that they had. Like,
could be, yeah. And
right?
It was
like
Ray's,
think, Gerry,
it was up to Ray, I think,
to break the ice.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See, I don't think he knew.
Yeah.
I think he thought there was something different because there was. I don't know if he. I don't know. I never thought that he really.
Because if he did, why wouldn't he say, "Oh, hey, Ray, hey, aren't you my son?"
Yeah.
Or
like it's one of those things where you're almost like I know you from somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why I know you or what the connection is, but I'm here for a reason, and it just kind of went from there.
Well, I think it too. He's obviously representing the younger self.
I think he
even had Ray.
Yeah, I think he knew. I think he knew.
But once Ray says "Dad," he knows.
Yeah.
That's when he turns around.
Yeah, he's like, "I'd like that. I'd like that." I think he knew, but was waiting. I'm going to go with that. I think he knew, right? Because otherwise, that wouldn't have made sense. I'm just going to have a catch with this guy that's calling me dad. So I think he kind of had to have known, but was kind of.
But it was Ray. It was Ray's call. It was all about him.
Yeah, it wasn't going to say anything. He didn't know if he wanted anything to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially at that point when he's like, he's like, "Oh, this is John."
Yeah.
Because he didn't acknowledge it. He didn't say anything at that point. But then when he said, "Dad, you want to have a catch?" I'd like that. And I think that I think the father knew.
Yeah. I like how excited Costner got when he said yes.
Yeah, it's just
But holding the it just
It's just like, and then he holds the glove, like it's just got that love. It's just it breaks you down. It spends so much time kind of slowly going up the hill and kind of giving you, like I said, giving you that false information that you think this is something else, and then they totally just That's when the tears are uncontrolled because you're
Yeah.
not ready for it. It's not like you're getting ready to meet the father and the father and we know the father's there, but he doesn't. We don't know it. Like we
You
all
don't
get it
realize-
we all
exactly.
get it at the same time. We all get hit with the anvil at the same time. It comes just crashing on our heads.
And the
Like,
whole
oh shit,
movie, you don't even though there's the undertones of they're going to lose the farm and stuff. You're not, in your heart, but even that wasn't so threatening that it took away from
yeah.
the rest of, like, when whatever his name, when he walks through the field and still hasn't seen them.
Yeah.
I love that scene because I'm just like,
I don't know how they choreograph that perfectly.
Because there's no CGI like that.
No.
How many takes? Because he threw that ball and it almost, that thing. Yeah.
And Timothy Busfield must have had like nerves of steel,
right?
to rely that the pitcher was going to get it because he didn't stop. Like there was no hesitation, and he was strutting across that. Like he was walking like with purpose because he was going to talk about the farm.
He's like, hi.
Like you would walk if there was no one there. You would just walk across. Like, what the hell are you seeing out here?
He wasn't strolling. He wasn't slow walking. He was like walking with purpose, and he didn't stop. And that ball, unless they faked this out and we thought there was a ball thrown and there really wasn't. I have to watch it again. Maybe they did this.
You can see
the pitch is thrown, and he's just inches away from getting nailed by I wonder if he did. I mean, I'm sure they probably did multiple takes.
Famously, the scene where Costner is pitching to Shoeless Joe, and he says, "See if you can hit my curve," and Ray Liotta hits the ball bag. That wasn't scripted, and they kept the camera rolling. And Costner got up and goes, "Oh, you can." Like that was impromptu as well.
Yeah.
Something wrong with my ear. There we go.
So James Earl Jones, I mean, his character, like
Terrence Mann,
what is
boat rocker?
What's his purpose? I mean, what in your mind? What's his role in this situation? I mean, do you think he's just that Ray at this point needed a voice to kind of tell him?
I think he's like the spiritual advisor is what he became, right?
Yeah.
Like he became almost his therapist because they're having those conversations.
Right.
That's what people always try to put on me. I don't want to, that's why I stopped wriing, and
it was like, important for him to let him know that too, I guess, because that was the reason why he, became, he had that estrangement from his dad, was because he was, in the, reading books like his and, stuff like that. He's like, I'm not taking responsibility for that. That you couldn't play catch with your father. It's not my fault, but I find that's like, he's like, he goes, now I know where everybody's purpose is except mine.
Yeah.
And it breaks your heart a little bit, like, because you feel for him and you think that, there's a little something in it for everyone at that point. But at the end, you realize it is all about Ray.
But it was for James Earl Jones as well, though, because he got that fire back. He was so cynical.
Yeah.
And so suspicious of people. So suspicious of people and so closed off and only saw the bad things about what people wanted from him. And this brought him back to wanting to write. Like, oh, I'm gonna do what I do. I write. He's going to write again. I'm going to write
He's
about
admitting
it.
that he was a writer. Yeah.
And he's the final piece that got Costner, like his whole monologue. People will come. That was his point, was to get Ray to realize that he's on the right track. And then the whole, them inviting him, like bringing him into the cornfield, like that was just like, that was also his reward. He gets to see what's in the cornfield, if you will.
Do you think he dies there?
No. I think it's a fantastical journey that he goes and sees what this realm is or whatever it is. And that's a great scene. Yeah. Gerry, he's like, and not once have I asked, what's in it for me? He's like, so what are you saying? I'm saying
you weren't invited.
What's in it for
me? But you weren't invited, Ray.
He's like,
it's so deadpan about it. Like,
that's the first time that he's like selfish about it.
Yeah.
Because it's confusing. He's like, I've been in the cornfield. I don't know what the hell's in the cornfield.
And then Ray Liotta's like, I think you better stay here, Ray. He's like,
well, but that's my point. It's like, if he had gone with them,
he wasn't going.
Would he have died? Because James Earl Jones stepped into the cornfield. Does he die at that?
No, I think anybody could step into the cornfield. Nothing will happen. You'll just walk in the cornfield. But when that magic is happening, he's able to go. Much like the way Costner time traveled, right? He kind of was in. It's this fantastical realm that we're not tuned into. Because he said, Costner said, I want a full report. Yeah. Right. So the expectation is that he would come back with the tales of these baseball players or whatever was going to happen with it. Right.
But until I rewatched it for this, I have always felt he died.
Really?
I always thought that was the end of his. He got his spirit back.
Oh, that's morbid. That's a downer.
Well,
because that's the ultimate. He's passing on. He's that's the ultimate journey, right? He's done his thing. He's I
don't think those.
He could always come back to the field.
That's true.
That's how I think
he knows, and that's.
It's not like he was sick or he had a heart problem, and we knew his time was coming.
No, but he's
like, I want a full report. Like he was like, I want a full report. And my impression was that he's going to be able to come and go.
But when he comes back and he can't leave the field, he could still give the full report.
Yeah, but he can't write about it. Like that was the whole thing.
So Costner writes it down.
But his spark of being a writer.
He just wheels in a typewriter, and he's sitting in the middle. He's sitting on the pitcher's mound, like writing.
Put it this way. I didn't see any tombstone next to the bleachers at the final shot. So
I kind of just think that he's passing on, and it's not done in a morbid way, but I think it's more.
He's free. He got rid of the anger that he's had.
Yes,
of what has gone on, and now he's got that love of just
and he doesn't have anybody. Well, his father in Baltimore.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put this to the to our listeners. Do you think that that Terrence Mann died at the end, or is this just part of the fantastical realm where he's going in there, he's going to experience it, and he's going to write about it because he's been reinvigorated and recontributed to society?
There are rules. I mean, you can't leave the field
if you're a ghost. But he wasn't dead.
Player.
He wasn't dead though. He was never dead. He's a live
person. Does he disappear like everyone else does?
Yes, he goes into the realm. He disappears.
He does, but that's the thing.
That's to me why I think that's why I always felt that he had.
And why did they single him out and say, do you want to come with us? I mean, Joe knows,
because I gave an interview. He said, because I get why you? Because I gave that interview. He's alive, right? Because it is a thing for him as well. So we'll have to ask the. Our listeners.
I don't know if I even want to know the answer. It's just I just think it's interesting that
he's.
And I never thought it was morbid until you just said it.
Yeah, that's totally.
I always thought it was romantic.
No, like the guy dies at the end. That doesn't like.
And then Ray gets arrested for a dead guy laying in his cornfield.
The body think about him, Terrence Mann he's part of the past now too, right? He's he's done his thing. He's but now he's redeemed in a sense. He's refreshed and whatever. And now he's I don't know. I'm
not buying that theme. that fan there. Eric has had a lot of great.
Everybody else is dead though. Doc Graham.
Yeah, but they were already
all the ball players.
And Ray's not invited. Ray has a family to go back to.
That's right. That's why he says, I think you better stay here, Ray. Because if you come with us, you're, Yeah,
but everybody else was already dead. Those people were already dead.
Yeah, but James Earl Jones, I mean, that's why he said, dead. Come. Hey, you want to? Why does he all of a sudden out of nowhere he says, you want to come with us? If not,
not you. I'm talking.
My time is up. I'm. Now it's time for me to. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't know. Like
let's put it out there.
The question is there.
It has been posed. The question has been posed. So we'll leave it to our listeners. Let us know on social media, Instagram or Facebook. And
is he dead or not?
Is he dead or not?
Thumbs up or down?
Terrence Mann, in the cornfield or 6 feet under?
Yeah.
All right, let's do we have favorite scenes? Did we go over the favorite scenes? Have we hit? We haven't hit the favorite scenes yet.
Well, we talked about some great
Talked
scenes.
about Gerry. Is there something that kind of stands out that is just
I mean,
obviously the monologue?
The favorite scene to me is, it goes back to, because this was a line that I've used a lot in my life, and it doesn't have anything to do with the sentimentality of the film. It's when all the players are there and Ray Liotta's like, we didn't invite Ty Cobb because no one liked him when he was alive, so we told him to stick it. And I've always used that when people ask about someone, like, is so-and-so here? And I've always thrown that out because it's always just been funny to me. But beyond that, I mean, if we're picking a favorite scene, probably the monologue. The monologue or Fenway Park, because that's where you see, like, James Earl Jones, well, not Fenway Park, but the second after, when he is trying to deny, or he's acting like he didn't hear anything.
Right.
And then Costner does the U-turn and he's standing there and he repeats it back to him.
Yeah. Moonlight Graham.
Yeah.
You saw it. You saw it.
Because that to me is like, James Earl Jones is trying to be like, I didn't fucking hear this. I don't want
it. I don't want this. Like, I don't want,
And that's where it all turns. That's where his spirit starts to cleanse for his journey into the cornfields.
Yeah. Actually, along the lines of that same scene is another great scene when they're walking and he's like, and Kevin Costner's like, so what do you want? He's like, I want to be left alone. I want you to stop bothering me.
Yes.
He's like, no, what do you want?
What do you want?
Like from the vendors. Burger,
dog
beer,
two dogs and 2 beers for $7. Oh my God, I want to go back to 1989 just for that.
It definitely was a fantasy, that film. Not based in reality, based on today's
Not
price.
at all.
I go with I like the Burt Lancaster stuff, when they're in Doc Graham's office, right? And Kevin and Costner's like, you know what? It would kill people to come that close to, to their dream and not, and he's like, oh, some people would, and he talks about being a doctor and all that kind of stuff. And, are you the kind of man that could grant this kind of a wish? It's like,
you were just waiting to do that again.
But see, that's the thing. That's the rhetoric that he was telling his dad. Like I'm pissed off that you didn't do these things.
Yeah.
Because I went to school and I'm a free spirit. Now you should have been that free spirit. Man had no choice. He had to do what he had to do, and he's angry
and he was a late
with his
life.
father.
He was a late life baby anyway, too. Like
because of him.
Old. Yeah,
exactly. So so that always and he still doesn't get it at that point because he's telling this to Burt Lancaster, right? He's like, and he's like, well, yeah, you deal with the cards you've been dealt, like that is. And you make the best of what you have. That's the point,
If I'd only been a doctor for 5 minutes, that would have been a tragedy. Or for 1 day.
Yeah. See, I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I'm with Gerry. Everything with him, with James Earl Jones, when he first meets him, and he's, and he just takes
you're a pacifist. Shit.
and then the whole on the road stuff too, when he's talking to him, and he keeps. And the time is passing, and he still keeps bringing up his dad. Like, what was the thing he said? And in those conversations, and there's just, that stuff is great. On the way home, and then they pull up, and it's just
because you get to learn. The movie. Yeah, the movie takes its time to learn, kind of. Learning about these people and them getting to know each other. This guy that was their idol all of a sudden is in the VW bus with him, and they're bringing him back, and Amy Madigan's like, oh my God, you kidnapped him. She's like, no, he's coming.
Well, I think it's great that they both have something. There's something there for her too. It's like, she was a big fan of him, obviously, as well. They both connected with his work and the fact that he also liked baseball. Well, that's even better. That's the icing on the cake right there. It's just all that stuff is great. But I mean, the whole movie just plays like one great scene. I think. I don't think there's anything about the movie I don't like in that sense.
Well,
there's nothing about it that I would say like, oh, I didn't care for that scene or anybody's. Yeah.
I would just say, look for Low and Away, but look out for In Your Ear.
Yeah.
Let's see. Frank Whaler's like, let's see that fastball, and the catcher's like, Jesus Christ,
Great.
The guy, he does like the eye roll. The catcher is like,
we were a big fan of him back in the day.
Frank Whaler,
We always loved him. And
it's funny. He was in Field of Dreams, nominated for best picture, and he was in Born on the 4th of July, nominated for best picture also.
Yeah.
So he was in Frank Whaley was in 2 of the best picture nominees in 1989.
Yeah.
So go figure.
Yeah.
He was a big Oliver Stone guy. Oliver Stone was always
right?
Yeah. Didn't win anything, but it's all good. This is one not to be missed, though. Again, if you see, and then Costner from here kind of did more baseball films. He did For Love of the Game. And then he did some sport, he did Tin Cup, which was a golfing thing. So, he kind of continued that. I think people liked seeing him in this type of a role.
Yeah,
with
All American.
Then he did Draft Day with the football, later on, much later. But that's still a good film too. You don't have to like football to like Draft Day. It's like one,
I never saw that one. I wasn't sure I wanted to see it because the idea always seemed good, but I'm like,
it's actually not really about football. It's the same type of thing. It's about like the football is the metaphor. His father's dead and he took over the team, and same type of thing. Like you don't have to really know about football to get engrossed in the excitement of it. So that's Costner's like forte is he's good with these kind of sports films, kind of doing that thing.
I always liked his choices.
And Robin Hood.
Well, I mean, like those kinds of the movies that were supposedly horrible, which I guess for all intents and purposes they are, like Waterworld and The Postman. And
I like them.
I like both. The Postman I thought was an interesting premise. Tom Petty's in it. Come on. I mean, but he plays that real true American figure. Always Dances with Wolves, and then I love the Western he directed. What was that one with Robert Duvall?
Open Range.
Open Range, I thought was fantastic. That was in the spirit of the classic westerns. It was romantic. But it was brutal at the same time. So he added a little bit of both to that.
Yeah. So much like Jimmy Stewart, he kind of became that. The image or what people assumed of him is kind of where his career went. In the 90s, he was kind of like people liked seeing him in that role. And he was good at it. And, and this was, like I said, this was an early one. He was only 4 feature films into his career, or maybe that was, maybe he had a few more. He had a few more. He had Silverado and a couple of other ones, but
you feel comfortable with him when you see him in movies.
Yeah. He's easy to watch. He's not the greatest actor in the world, but he's a really good actor. He's got his range and he works well within his range as an actor.
And he's a good physical actor too. He knows how to.
Yeah.
He knows how to ride a horse. He knows how to do those kinds of things. Like
he could shoot a bow and arrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Robin of the Hood, son of the devil worshiper.
No, and he's very physical, which I liked. I like he did a lot of his own stunts and that kind of thing too. So he really kind of got into the game, big time. Like jump real.
Yeah, gave it his all. Yeah, gave
it his all. Yep, absolutely.
Wasn't afraid to, and have his opinions too, which kind of gets him into trouble sometimes. With his movie collaborators, he would fight with them and throw them out and all kinds of crazy stuff. But anyway, not to besmirch this. Everybody, Field of Dreams is available for. You can get it on Prime for rental. I think you can rent it on a couple of other streaming services.
Right now, it's on Netflix right now.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Netflix for free if you have the subscription. So if you've never seen it, wow, go check it out. If you have seen it, watch it again. It's just one of those ones, kind of, if you need to clean out the tear ducts, guys, we don't, it's okay. It's okay. Watch it in the privacy.
Real men cry too.
And I was a real man earlier today because I was just crying. I'm like, here it comes, but it's okay. It's like, Dad, you want to have a catch? I'm like, oh, okay. So I think that's going to do it. We covered all the bases, so to speak.
Yes.
We have.
Home run.
Awesome. Check out Field of Dreams. This is from 1989. Yeah, from an era of filmmaking that is probably long gone. And there was an innocence in the filmmaking as well, not just in the material. So it was the ending of an era for this type of film. I think Eric really kind of nailed it on the head when he said that. So
Yep.
I think
Jerry.
Yeah.
Yes.
You made it through, sir.
Yes.
Great job.
Woo!
Great job.
Jerry's first
Only one beer in, so I'm good.
Jerry's first solo flight. He made it.
I was a little scared, but
Wonderful.
Pabst Blue Ribbon has eased my pain.
PBR cures all ills and causes some other ills.
True. I may be hearing voices.
That's it. Well, that's it. If you drink it, you'll get drunk. That's what it's saying to you. If you drink it, you'll fall asleep. You'll pass out. Go the distance to the curb and recycle the can.
Wow. You weren't drinking. What did you have in that glass there?
Ease your pain. Have another PBR. Oh, boy. That's going to do it for this episode of the 3324 podcast. Jerry Sullivan, thank you so much for joining us. It was a blast. I hope you enjoyed talking about it.
Absolutely.
And as always, Eric, it's you and I. We're the ones that are always here in the seats.
Yep.
And thanking everybody for joining us. New episodes come out every Thursday. If you didn't know, if you knew, well, now you know. We've got a whole back catalog of stuff you could check out with Jerry on many other episodes, lending his expertise and point of view to it as well. Hit us up on Instagram and Facebook also if you want some more tidbits of movie information and join a great community of people. So for Jerry, for Eric, this is Dean asking you to please be kind. Go ahead and rewind.